Hello, this is Education 4301, Methods of Teaching. In this lesson, we're going to talk about managing students with apathy. One of the most difficult tasks that a teacher has, and predominantly in secondary school, is students that are indifferent to learning. They just don't care. You know, when a teacher comes fresh out of college and they have all these ideas and they have this notion that they're going to change students' lives forever, and just with this huge passion, and the children are going to listen to you, and then you get in a classroom full of students and a small percentage of them just don't care. They don't care what you have to say. They don't care about learning. They don't want to improve their life. And oftentimes teachers start thinking, well, if I just change my strategy, is it me? Am I not presenting it right? And there could be things that teachers do to improve participation in a classroom and being engaged in a lecture. But sometimes students just have apathy towards it. And so, you know, that's kind of a greater strategy that we'll deal with. But I'm going to show you some things that we do just in the classroom to get students to do work and complete work. So let's talk about it. Apathy, or indifference, amotivation, uninterested, is student apathy refers to the lack of interest and motivation students have towards school and education. Just a lack of concern that education is going to benefit them at all. About 7 in 10 current high schoolers reported feeling bored in school at least some of the time, with about 30% saying they felt bored all or most of the time. Those are large numbers. If you're in a school that has, let's say, 1,000 students in it, we're talking about 300 kids that are completely bored from the time they walk in to the time they leave. And it significantly impacts their learning. So what are some of the causes of it? This is a list of just some of the things that the book says and that I've gained from just some knowledge of it in experience in the classroom. Number one thing is failing to see the value of an education. They don't understand that this impacts the rest of their life. It's such a critical thing, and they just don't comprehend that. They don't understand that. And so as a teacher, the more that we can help them see that what happens in the classroom on a daily basis will help them some point in their future significantly. The next one is negative attitude, just a negative attitude towards staff or authority, teachers, their friends or peers, or maybe not their friends, just other students. Sometimes negative attitudes really play into it. Another one is distraction. The distraction could be environmental, could happen inside of the classroom or right outside the classroom, or it could be inside of their mind. You know, they might be thinking about something going on at home, or even thinking about, how am I going to beat the big boss on this video game that I have? So that's one of those things. So teachers really will increase their likelihood of students participating with at least the environmental distractions that they can remove from a classroom. And the last one here, one of the causes of apathy is they just feel like they have greater problems, bigger things to worry about than school. And I have all of these things over here on my plate. Maybe it's a bad home life, or maybe it's just these situations they have to deal with. And those are so big that school pales in comparison to those. And so they just don't care what goes on in that classroom. It's very important for us to deal with apathy in school and not doing and completing work because of the side effects that it has. One of them is failing grades. This, telling a student, well, if you don't do this assignment, you're going to get a 0. Well, for a lot of them, they don't care. They don't really see grades as really significantly important without some pressure, maybe pressure from a parent or pressure from a coach if they're participating on a team. And so failing grade doesn't affect them much. There's a significant correlation to apathy that goes on and the dropout rate. Students, it's one of the key indicators. You got a student that doesn't care, isn't doing work, tries to go to sleep every time. Those students are much more likely to drop out at some point. Past effects of it, past high school or past school, is the inability to keep jobs. Has been a correlation with students that have apathy in the classroom and failing to do assignments. Another one is drug, alcohol, tobacco use. There's a direct correlation between those students. And then, kind of on down the road in their life is kind of a life of poverty. If they fail to care about school, they struggle at home in their home life. They struggle in their occupation. Not always, but a lot do. And it's one of those key indicators. This is why it's so important for us as teachers to deal with this problem, because of the long-term effects that apathy or lack of motivation in school has on the rest of their life. So, most effective long-term help for students with apathy. So these are the things that we do to long-term help them. So we divide up the help for students in two different categories. Long-term, how do we get people to do things? What is it? What's the overall strategy? And then what's the immediate thing that we can do in the classroom? Well, this first one right here is you develop lessons with apathetical students in mind. When you sit down and you do your lesson plans and you think things through, you intentionally say, is this going to engage my students that don't care? And so that's an important thing to remember, is you design your lesson at the point of the least common denominator. Your students that are going to engage, that are actively seeking, really good grades and future in college, they're going to do the work. But how can you develop a lesson that's going to pull in those that don't care? One of them is relevant. The lessons that you teach your students should be relevant to their life. And there's some things out there that, that is going to be really a stretch to do. History teachers, I think, have a leg up on this, because everything that happens in history can be related back to someone's life. And so, just creating a lesson that somehow shows that it's relevant to their life is important. The next one is active. Students do better. Research has shown that when a classroom is active, when they are moving around, if a teacher gets up and just lectures for 50 minutes, and I'm not completely against that, but research has shown that an active classroom will keep students' attention much better. Another one is engaging, is when you intentionally ask students questions, you have them do tasks, you have them participate in lessons, and you engage them on a kind of a deeper level in the classroom, instead of just, here's what I have to say, write these down and do this assignment. It's boring, so, and you're not an entertainer as a teacher, but we do have a responsibility to try to engage every student every day. And the last one, this is probably the most important thing, is students will do a better job. They will do a better job if you have a close relationship with them. And what I mean by close relationship is you know their name, you know their interest, you know what they like to do. You wave at them when you pass them in the hallway. Hey, how you doing? That's meaningful to students. When they think a teacher cares for them, then they're much more likely to participate in class and be respectful to the teacher. When they sense or think that you don't care for them at all, they're going to be less likely to do any type of work. So this last slide I want to show you is what immediate steps to get students to do work. So these are the strategies that we do in the classroom to get a student to do the work. These are tailored specifically for my school, what we do at our school. Your school may have a couple different policies or something, but you should be, when you get a job and you're in a working environment in a school, what steps do you take to get a student to do work in the classroom? The first one is you move their desk closer for observation. One of the worst things you can do with a student that has apathy or indifference in school is leave them in the back of the room. They'll go to sleep, they'll get on their phone, they won't participate. They're much more likely, if you can observe them, what they're doing, what their activity is. If they try to go to sleep, you can wake them up. And so that's the first step. The second step is to eliminate distractions. Maybe they're staring out of a window, or maybe they're talking with someone in the classroom, or looking out of the front door. So eliminate those distractions. Much greater likelihood that they will engage in the lesson. Number 3 is contact the parent. Parent contacts are critically important, especially with students with apathy. The parent may inform you something's going on with them at home, or say, hey, this is what you need to do, or the parent could discipline them, or, lots of different things the parents can do. Almost any step a teacher takes, this is one of the most important things, is contacting the parent. Now, my building, we have a program called ZAP. It stands for Zeros Aren't Permitted. And it's an after-school program. When the bell rings and the schools and the kids leave, then the students assigned to go to ZAP will go to a classroom. They'll work with the teacher, and they'll have to do the work in that classroom. The next step that we have is Saturday school. And Saturday school is a teacher in the classroom, but really it's one of those things that, it's an issue of kind of math. If a student with apathy is in a classroom and they have an assignment that takes maybe an hour, and then they don't do it, so they've spent an hour sitting there in the classroom avoiding doing it, and then they get sent to Saturday school and they have to do it, then they have to sit there in Saturday school 2 hours. So something that could have been done in less than an hour now has cost them 3 hours. So we use that somehow as a way to kind of teach them, efficiency is, get it done right the first time. And it has some success. Saturday school does. A lot of students try to avoid that. They do not like to get up on Saturday morning and go to school. This will take parent support, and parent will have to take them there. But it is a step that we can use. I found these steps here effective. I don't think you're going to reach every single student. Some just don't care no matter what happens. But what about those 3 or 4 or 5 students that, on the verge, they just don't care really enough? Good teachers that use these strategies can pull these students up and really help them be successful in the classroom. So I hope you learned something about apathy and how we do things. Remember that no one gets left behind. Don't ignore a student and say, well, he's not going to do any work anyways, or just go to sleep and don't bug anybody, or play on your phone or something. I mean, we have a responsibility to reach these students from the time they walk in to the time they walk out. And with these strategies, I think you can be successful. Remember to send me an email if you have any questions, and I hope you're doing well. Goodbye.